Hey, Moan.
What up, DK? Hey. Yeah. You know
Okay.
what day it is, DK.
I'm pretty sure that I do.
The day will call me out if we don't start this thing off right. Today is Hump Day. There's a little bit more emphasis right there because I feel like last week we dropped the ball on that one, DK.
I wasn't waiting for any bell after that masterpiece.
You broke the bell with that, DK. To do it anyway, man. There it is.
You give us a hump day of that quality, it's coming. Hi, everybody. He's Ramon Foster, 11 years starting National Football League guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also had something to do with some school that wears orange at some point or other.
Evan, fight me. Fight me, Evan. If you ever fight me right, is that a Longhorn hoodie? Now we can do this in the SEC. They banned it in the Big 12, DK. You know that's my college stuff. I know you don't do the college thing. I can't wait to be in a stadium, DK, and doing that so bad. God, I can't wait. Horns down, baby, at all times in the SEC, DK.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. We're going to talk about the defense to get this one started today. We really are.
Yeah.
Because nobody does this. I find that the defense in general just gets borderline ignored. You know?
Why?
And it's been, well, you know why?
Why?
I feel like it's just become a non-sexy subject because it's just become about survival.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been, all right, here's the guys who are left. You know, you have your outside linebackers. You have a couple of guys on the line, although I don't believe that either Cam Heyward or Larry Ogunjobi is at 100%.
You can tell.
Yep. And from there, what are you looking at? You have no safeties, and no inside linebackers. It's crazy. Patrick Peterson, of course, has taken one for the team. He slid across to safety. The fact that we don't hear his name all that much is probably a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, wow, Moan. I mean, You want to talk about putting it together, patchwork.
It's more than patchwork. DK is holding on by a thread. And still, the squad is only giving up, DK. Let me get my numbers correctly. This defense is only still giving up 19.6 points a game. That's seventh in the NFL. With all of those issues right there, the structure, to your point, is good. Nobody likes to talk about the defense because here's the thing, too. Pittsburgh is huge on defense, so much so that it's the normal thing to talk about. It's almost expected, right, DK? Mm-hmm. And as long as you got Cam, as long as you got TJ, as long as you got Alex, and as long as you got some young guys, it seems like nobody pays attention to it. We definitely will talk about what it means if we get Minka back this week for sure. But as far as, I hate to even use this old cliche and saying, long as the standard stays the standard on the defense, it really ain't one of those situations where you got to harp on too much, DK. Is that the one facet of Pittsburgh that somewhat stayed the same? Is the standard has remained the standard defensively? It
is, and you can appreciate that both through watching them, through seeing the results and all that other stuff. I'm going to share with you last night at the Penguins game. You know, Cam Heyward was over there, and he did the. I remember what he yelled out. Actually, it was one of their. But he was given the microphone, and he just it's a great day for hockey. I think it was what it was.
Yeah,
and he let it fly.
He did,
and now he did this seconds before Washington scored, which he's going to hear about. Okay.
I hope he does.
And the Penguins ended up losing, which he's also going to hear about. However, the response that he got from the crowd was, all pro defensive tackle, Cam Heyward. Place went bonkers. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's doing his thing in front of the camera, and you can see the reaction was there because there's still some defense.
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be defense in this city.
Yeah.
And to see the place react to him like that amid everything that's been so, steady about this franchise, that's really cool.
It is really cool. And Cam is such a fixture in Pittsburgh culture. Like all the way through his charity works he's done, the Walter Payton Man of the Year numerous times at this point, DK. He is Pittsburgh through and through. He was born to be it, and he shows it at all times too, my brother. Like, and he's also this. He's what Pittsburgh embodies: blue collar, don't complain, hard work, out loud when you need to be, right? But he embodies everything that this city is. So even if they lost, his teammates gonna let him have it, DK, when he walk in that locker room like, dang, you can't even get the team going, the hockey team going. But when you do those types of things, you win over the hearts, you win over the city, you win over extensions of contracts and stuff like that. When you're that type of dude, I'll say this: I think people are, unsure what the era is gonna be post Ben, right? Oh man, this is finally. Can you imagine? I mean, he's the next one up if we're being all the way honest. But like the farewell tour that Cam will get and what he stood for, and also this, man, another one of those dudes as it stands right now, unless Mason gets hot as heck. No ring, but he's still a damn legend. I'm talking about ring of honor legend. I'm talking about enough as far as his NFL, his NFL resume. He's in contention for a gold jacket of some sort. I don't know if he's first ballot. I don't know which ballot he is, but he's got a strong case as it stands right now, DK.
James wants to know if we're going to give Mike Tomlin credit for the defense. This is like James's way of daring us. Do you feel that little finger coming out of that balloon there? James is going, are you going to give it a
get us back?
Whenever things go well, you credit everybody. Whenever things go poorly, you blame everybody. This is the part that I don't have a problem doing at all. Okay. I thought that the Steelers' overall scheme for Seattle, that their overall mindset, and that their overall state of readiness for a road game in that atmosphere, or that potential atmosphere, didn't turn out to be all that hot. 20% of it was Steelers fans.
Love that.
Right, but that's part of it too. That's part of the whole, let's, take over your trap, as you're always saying. Tomlin says. The credit for all of this, for what happened in Seattle, okay, always goes back to the same source. The same way that we say the buck stops here when things go badly for the Steelers. Mike Tomlin had a hell of a week, everybody.
He did.
Okay, really I don't sit here on vendettas and stuff, okay? When I see stuff that I don't like over a pattern of several years, I'll identify it as such. But when you're talking about this past week, he pushed every correct button. And I'm not going to bore you guys with a bunch of little examples, but there were.
I love to hear a couple of them, DK. You got a couple?
You gave one yesterday with the NFL Films one that was fantastic. And it's funny, the overwhelmingly positive reaction that got from Steelers fans, including some that just said, "I'm sorry, you're my coach," and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, that's quite the turnaround. Okay, I think that this franchise has grave, broader concerns with some of their methodologies.
Yeah,
okay,
that's fair.
And I think that's a very real thing that we were talking about after those 2-10 wins, or those losses to those 2-10 teams. But when you got a good week and you say to somebody, "Hey, you had a good week," guess what? This doesn't change your broader point.
It doesn't.
And nor does your broader point lessen that. He had a hell of a week leading into Seattle and including Seattle.
I think this quote right here, not this one from Greg, man, might end up on a shirt because it was that good. It was that period. And those, Greg, to your point, Greg puts up on the screen, man, I love to hear a couple of freaky blank routinely. He said that killed him. That basically means it made him feel good. You saw a different aspect of Coach Tomlin that I think we as players see. Those are small conversations that he's probably drilling in to George Pickens is the stuff that he gets players to tick with, right?
Individually. Very individually. He's going to speak to George in a different language than he's going to speak to somebody else. You saw that. You lived that, Moan.
Yo.
He didn't talk to you the same way he talked to Marquise. You're both really smart guys. It's just a different way of communicating.
way different way of communicating. This reminds me so much of, you remember, you've heard him say this. What did he call Mike Wallace? You remember that? As far as
one trick pony.
One trick pony. What did Mike Wallace do with that one trick pony? He mortgaged that into a huge second deal.
I don't think he needed a mortgage by the time he got that second deal. He could pay for that house in cash.
He could, but that's one of those little, when I tell y'all, it's it's the small things that get guys drink the Kool-Aid, run through a brick wall when everything's stacked up against you, that he's probably doing with George Pickens. George, we know you can play, but all you do right now is freaky stuff. Do that freaky stuff often. And it ain't just him. I'm sure he's going at Broderick Jones. I'm sure he's calling Cam the old man. I'm sure he's going at TJ talking about, I don't know if he go at TJ. Do you go at TJ? Hey,
TJ's just TJ. And TJ, the other thing with TJ is he's so low maintenance.
He's so low maintenance.
What do you have to say to him? Hey, T, go get him, dude. Think about how stupid you'd sound.
He might be he'll go at the entire defense instead of TJ individually, because sitting here now, I can't knock TJ on much. He ain't old. He's done everything you needed him to do. He's a sack leader right now. He's probably the only one at this point, though, that you're just like, yeah, I ain't got nothing for you. Minka, he's probably, hey, Minka, you going to play ball with us this week? Like, it's those little things right there that makes a coach, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what's so unique about it. I'm glad that clip was put out. I don't know if the NFL have to ask for permission for that. But it was good.
NFL Films has its own set of rights, and the teams have to clear it after the fact. Like, they'll say, hey, we got this. What do you think? Yeah. And then if you think about who the powers that be are at the Steelers, there's some common sense there. Yeah. It makes everybody look good. It makes George look good, which also matters. Because George is sitting over there going, yeah, I'm gonna get him. You know,
yeah.
I want to deal with this. Brent says, don't talk to me about how he was prepared for Seattle when they lost to Pats and Cards.
That's fair.
See, this is what happens though. We start thinking of this stuff like politics. Yeah. Okay. You don't have to jump on a side to stay there through 100% of all of the arguments. He can be prepared for Seattle, and he can have been an absolute catastrophe for the New England and Arizona games. Yeah. Both things can be true. As Moan and I just said here, the bigger picture can still have many problems that need to be addressed and ultimately solved, while at the same time, he can have found himself something for Seattle.
Absolutely.
He did. All of them did.
They all did, DK. And the other thing, too, about the friggin' Patriots and Arizona game is this, too, dog, is look at the quarterback play. It was low at the time. Y'all, we can make every excuse and have every conversation about how good or bad a team is, DK. But if you ain't got a guy that can make the plays for you, that's holding the ball on every single play beside the center, meaning the quarterback, then what are we talking about in those games? Like, those were some lowly games, man. Just in general, the entire offense, man. Listen to this bull crap. Golly, DK. You want to hear this real quick offensively? And we want to talk about a coach being prepared or not. Like, the coaches administer the plan, the culture, the expectations. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
That's very fair. You've met players and heard of situations before where the players just either have mental errors, they're just simply dumb, they make a bad play, they run into the kicker, they fumble the ball. Is that a coaching thing or is that a player thing, DK? It's mostly player.
Mostly.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing about the about the Cardinals game and about the Patriots game. Total offense, okay? 317 yards for this offense, 264. Passing, 187, 182. Like, you needed more those weeks to do something against those teams. And a lot of it was junk yards, too. The New England game, trash. It was a terrible game. It was also bad quarterback play. It was just overall terrible. Probably thought you can just roll the ball out as players. And players get to that point at times. It's like, yeah, we'll beat them. You can, like, nobody really wants to admit that. But there are moments where you get caught lacking mentally, like, yeah, we'll just roll the ball out on them. Now, the good teams will turn it on. We can't lose this game, y'all. This team sucks. This, again, is we'll address the issues of what this Steelers, let's go primarily offense issues are. They're young. no leadership, and really don't have a whole lot of experience when it comes down to how to win game and go out and compete. I think Mason has somewhat interjected that, right? Injected that into him, DK.
I think it's more than somewhat, but okay.
I don't want to give Mason too much credit.
I do. I'm sorry. I haven't seen quarterback play like that. You understand one thing about my football life is that I saw you guys play. There goes the hand thing.
It's the hand. It won't do it for me.
I must have something that I can set off. But now I'm totally thrown off here.
You've seen us guys, yeah.
I see you because I see you every week. But where am I on Sundays? I'm around the Steelers.
Yeah.
I don't see other teams. I see the opponent that week, okay? The number of NFL teams that I see on a given week is 2. So for me to see used to be the way it occasionally is for the opponent, wow, man.
Yeah.
It makes a difference,
Yeah.
you know? I'm very, very much into that. I think it's made a big difference. Now back to the head coach. You asked me to share something. This is going to be broad. It's not specific. But one aspect of the message that came across loud and clear was that he wanted, and he stressed this all week long. Players told me he wanted to run the football, as he would tell them, for the purpose of taking the crowd out of it. Now, I know he did this with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how veteran you were, no matter how old you were, he would emphasize the crowd. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Is the crowd that big of a deal, Moan? Does that really resonate with you as an athlete?
It does. One, if you're a true competitor, it's like Gladiator, right? It's like 300. Right? Those types of moves. Troy. When you walk into a stadium, and we're literally walking into those stadiums, those coliseums, right? That those Roman warriors fought in, right? And we're going historical on this. And all you want to do as an opposer, right? As somebody that's coming in as the opposition, is to shut that crowd up. DK, y'all listening to us, like there's something about it that makes you say, I own you guys right now. You're one thing that you got. Like, you can't touch me in the stands. You can throw something at me, you're gonna get kicked out and you're gonna get arrested. Way you can get to me is yelling at me and getting me confused, making sure I can't communicate. Because if I go into your stadium and shut you up, then I've won. That means, number one, psychologically, your team hears that and you're not getting loud. 2, that means I've done everything I need to do as a player, as a team, to shut you up. I own you at this point. That's what it is, DK. So for him saying it controlled the crowd, there were some loud moments, I'm sure, kickoff and all that type of stuff, right? Big run that Walker had. But DK, the idea that you went to what is known widely as the loudest stadium in the NFL.
Kansas City this is probably a second, yeah.
Yeah, a second, but 1 and 2.
Yeah,
but you shut them up. That's no better feeling. And then you got to go on that 5-hour flight back to Pittsburgh, and you can be as loud as you want on that team playing, DK. Like, that's some cold-blooded stuff, my brother.
Yeah, that's actually, when I think about the trip to Seattle and everything that I witnessed out there and heard, that jumps out more than anything, is that he really sold everybody on this. Like, he took it to its took the whole competition, the whole event, down to its rawest level and said, if you run, if you knock people over, you'll be beating not only them, you'll be beating the entire stadium around us, to the point, I told you the Broderick Jones story yesterday and whatever, that everybody bought in.
Yeah.
From what I heard, the biggest mouth on the field was that of Pat Freiermuth. Wouldn't shut up through the whole game. And this is a guy who didn't touch the football the previous week.
I love it, DK.
They were all really, really sold in on this. And for me, again, I can look at things without, again, describing it earlier, like politics. I don't think the head coach has had much of a calendar year. I don't think he's had much of a 5-year period. I think they're issues that have to be resolved. But when I see on the sideline, Mike Sullivan, who's calling the plays now, is just a few feet away from Tomlin, and there were some runs, and they were successful runs. This was the first half when everything was an automatic 5, 7, 9 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he yells out to Mike Sullivan, throw it. Get aggressive. Don't be nothing predictable here. We are not sitting here holding anything back. What do you know? The next ball is downfield. Woo, completion. First down.
Yep.
And their third down conversions in this game. I think I still have I do. Their third down conversions in this game, regardless of what they were from a success rate, here it is. 6 for 13, which isn't bad. 46%, right?
I was going to say, yeah, that's close to 50% right there. That's damn good, DK. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, well, actually, the number that's impressive about it is that it was only 13 attempts, meaning they were moving it pretty well on first and second.
Ball control.
Fourth down, 2 out of 3, which is really, really good. Okay. It wasn't just that. It's what they did with those plays. They didn't just cross or inch over the line.
Yeah.
He threw it.
We did, and Najee could have scored again. Can't get over that. Let's get ready to go into Heymon, because there's some really good ones, DK, but I also have to say this too before we go into Heymon. He also beat a stereotype too this weekend.
What's that?
Nobody's talking about it unless you lose.
Oh, the West Coast?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's 2 out there.
Vegas.
Because they beat they beat the Rams in SoFi.
Sure did.
Yeah. Vegas, I'm sorry, man. It's a long flight, but they're not near enough water. It's a desert. You know, I can't give them coast status.
That's fair, DK. That's fair. But I want to highlight it before it becomes a narrative. You know if they'd have lost that game.
Oh, it would have been all West Coast this. When did the plane go and everything else?
So can we, in the comments, I'm watching right, can we get just a couple of hand claps of beating that narrative? Just go ahead and put the hand claps emojis or whatever you want to do. Just let's acknowledge it here.
There you go. Nothing like that. Now here they come with a true. They're a little bit slow here.
There it is. Wrongism
comes in with one. Yeah, they're going to come in, I'm sure, in the background here whenever we do. Oh, look at that. Now we're piling up here. Look at that. Everyone can. This is why you tune into this show, to watch us stick emojis up there. Look at Ronald.
It's
Draper,
just acknowledgement. That's all.
Here's a hand with a pinky finger waving, and here comes Dre. By the way, one of the coolest thing about these emojis is that you can choose your complexion.
Your complexion.
Yeah, so you're not sitting there wondering, hey, that's not me.
You're right.
Which is just amazing.
It is.
Where all of this stuff is right now. You know?
I love it. They're acknowledged. That's all I needed, DK. We good to go, man. I thought that was beautiful, man, because those 2 games could have really made us look real bad out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When we come back, the only segment that actually mattered in the first place.
I got the best question for this one. That's Heymon, though, DK.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Alan's going to win with the best Heymon for the day.
You got it? You think?
Yeah, because look at it.
Hey,
Heymon! That's all he's got. He's not interested in your insight, your experience, your wisdom.
That doesn't matter to him, right, DK? I'm with you on that one, man. Man, geez, this is such a good one too. Chris G, man, y'all are on fire right now with the replies and everything too. But I see one from Chris G. I don't think it's worthy enough to be put on the screen, but he says Bradshaw can't call Mike Tomlin a cheerleader, has no idea what goes on inside that building. DK, we've talked about that time and time again, but that's always fair. Always fair.
Yeah, and at the same time, and this is relevant, when the team goes out there flat like they did, especially against the Patriots, and I didn't like Colts either. I didn't like the effort in Indianapolis. I didn't like the focus. I didn't like anything about Indianapolis. Don't leave that one out when you mention the bad losses. Okay, there's the 2-10 teams, and then there's Indianapolis, which was just like, really? Seriously? Now you're not even trying? But when you look at it from the other perspective, when things go really, really well, I mean, it's a factor. It's part of the head coach's job.
It is, man. 3 candles. I'm going to keep this one saved just because I love this. Walk in your trap and take over your trap is always big time for us. Almost becoming a secondary Pittsburgh motto. What is that? Probably tenfold at this point. You ready for the Hey Mon, though, DK?
I definitely am. After Uncle Matt wisely points out, everybody, come on, 287 likes.
It's just barely over a quarter at this point, man.
Like,
seriously, what we got going on here, DK?
Why?
Man, but Kevin Fitzgerald, who's a member, and also Will Smith. I love it if he was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, being that he's from Philly. That Will Smith, I don't think is that Will Smith, but these 2 guys essentially asked the same question. I saw it twice, and I was like, I thought it was the same person. It's not. I'm gonna put both of them up because they're worthy of it. But Kevin goes, Moan, what is it with, in their quotation marks, I don't want to give Mason too much credit. The team in interview says the same thing, like they were coached. Will Smith also says, hey, Moan, why don't you want to give Mason credit? Is there more to the inside the NFL world we don't know? Yes. I wish I can put both of these up. Here's the thing. You never get too high on your own supply. The moment that you think you're that good or your team is that good, usually nosedive because there's always somebody out there better or an opportunity that you're not prepared for. And you know what you're saying? Well, you're supposed to be prepared for every opportunity. You want to fly level. You know what I tell you? A little bit of anxiety with a little bit of confidence is how you operate. Now, it's the confidence to say Mason killed it, right, DK? But the anxiety of most athletes is like, don't say that too loud, man. The world is going to know. The world is going to know regardless. But I can't be the ones telling you Mason is balling just because the athletic, the competitor that you have to be is to be quiet, confident. It's to be good, but let everybody else tell you you're good. Most of this team is probably looking at this situation saying to itself, man, we on a roll, but don't talk too much. It's just that psychological warfare that you have to get yourself into week in and week out, because if I think I'm that good and great, I'm probably going to lag a little bit. Instead of watching 6 hours of film this week independently, I might just watch 4. You got to make sure that you don't give too much in these moments so that you know you are also still pressing yourself. You know, like
I do. I when I hear Tomlin say things like he did a nice job. Twice he did that in Seattle. Once the previous week. He did a nice job. Okay, that's not an accident. He knows exactly what he's doing. And as he occasionally, in a strange mood, will remind reporters, he's not there to put all his secrets out. No. He's there to use the podium for something that might help him win the next week's game, which is all he cares about. Where Mason is concerned, you know, look, it happened.
Yeah.
Both of these games happened. Okay. One of the things that the head coach is never crazy about doing, incidentally, in a press conference setting, is answering really obvious stuff. And I'm going to give you an example here.
Yeah.
This is the day after TJ Watt was named the team's MVP. Okay. And, you know, as reporters, we're looking for quotes to fill out a story. People don't understand why we're actually there. Yeah. We're not there to finger wag and whatever else here. We need X amount of content. Okay. So what you want, you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to ask Tomlin about TJ Watt. I'm going to ask him if he thinks TJ Watt is good. Okay. And what you get, even though he knows why you're doing this, is something like TJ is TJ. And then he'll look around the room for the next question. Or when we would ask something about James Harrison, he would say, I expect him to be very James Harrison-like.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yes, man. Like when you walk in the room with him, right? And you know, like, and it's oh my God, you're never as good as you. Oh,
I'm not
God.
writing your story for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Which actually occasionally he'll say that. Okay. And what he's doing with Mason right now, I believe, is that he's saying, listen, that was one game. Or listen, that was 2 games. Now you've done it twice. Now we're going into Baltimore. And he goes a little bit out of his way to point out that Kenny Pickett was the one who won the game for them in Baltimore to end last season. So he's even got that thrown in there. As he sees it, I'm sure he sees Mason Rudolph going into these stadiums right now with something to prove, because it's the end of the world if he doesn't do it. And why would this coach take his foot off that particular pedal? Exactly. Why would he do that?
Exactly. So the reason you get loud and bring it back, I'm going to put up Casey Kessler real quick, DK, is for this. The moment that you think you've arrived, guess what everybody else do? They're probably calling the building down the street that's in New England. They're probably calling Chicago. They're probably calling Dallas. Hey, how you guys attack them? They're saying that they're good. I need to see how good they are. And you were that close to beating him. So the powers of beast surround you to try to take you down. That's why you really think about this. If coaches almost to a T, DK, can't say this, if they can't really even enjoy a Super Bowl, what are they usually saying right after that? Let's go do it again.
Oh, yeah. Instantly.
This
is great. Can we do this again next year? It's awesome.
You ain't even in the moment right now.
No.
Let's do it again. So that's just the game. And as a pro, it's such a fine line on who makes it and who doesn't, who wins and who loses sometimes, that you can never just say, we got our guy when you're in it. Like, we can say it, but when you're in it, you can't do that. So Mason's, he's good, but we'll leave it at that.
Joel says no film on Mason equals half the reason for his success. There's so much film, dude.
He got what?
Moan, do coaches get selective about this stuff? They'll go through every preseason, everything. Okay? I mean, he did play. He had a lot of snaps in the preseason. Okay? They're looking for stuff that we're not looking for. Okay, they're not looking to, look at that great catch by George Pickens. They couldn't care less. They're watching his footwork. They're watching Telemone.
But to your point, Joel Schmidt, does film help them? To keep that up there. Does film help them when Mason stands in the pocket with dudes all around his arm and he drops a dime to Deontay or George?
Yeah. What do you say?
They rushed him.
We need to get after this guy. They did.
Duh.
We need to rattle him. Well, these guys just didn't.
So I'll say this to that saying, when it's good, just acknowledge that it's okay, Joel. I know what you're saying. Oh, he needs a whole. You're right. He does. But can't you just acknowledge, like, that was some good stuff we've seen as of late.
That's it.
They got around him. They got to him, right? But he still delivered the goods.
Dan Moore told me something. This was before Seattle, not out there. We actually spoke afterward as well. But before Seattle, before we flew out there, he said, I know everybody's focused on, what the state of the Cincinnati Bengals is and not having the quarterback and whatever. But he started mentioning some of the names that they have defensively. And he said, we had to do some stuff. Okay? We had to do some stuff out there against these players, against that defense. Yeah, they have some flaws, obviously, in the secondary.
Yeah.
Okay? But Mason hanging in the pocket, Mason getting things done in the pocket that goes across the board. That doesn't have anything to do with the overall quality of the opponent. It just doesn't.
Yeah, that's a different thing. I think our guy Joel want to have a moment, and that's fair. I got nothing wrong with you having a moment about Mason. So I'm with it. He just said, I like Mason. I appreciate that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see people being, especially, oh my goodness. Can you imagine if Mason were to not play well in Baltimore? Oh, the whole thing was a fluke, and it's the last game of the season. It's the last thing we saw, and he'll be dead and buried all over again.
Yeah.
And no one will acknowledge that these 2 games ever even existed. But These coaches and these evaluators don't do that.
Yeah.
They're looking for stuff. And I don't believe for a second that Tomlin is going, wow, this quarterback is really playing a mile over his head. There's just too much of it.
Just playing ball. And Joel comes back and says, simply and genuinely curious.
Yeah.
And Joel, to your point, and that's why I said I'm going to be fair to you. Look at the plays that he's made versus the plays that the other guys have made. I think that's the easiest way to kind of parse this. You played against the AFC North team that's got a hell of a defense in the Bengals. You played against an NFC West team where you had to travel to the West Coast, and that stadium, the number 2 loudest stadium in the world as far as NFL, against some really good defensive players, and you beat them too. Let's just take that for what it is and say, if you do it again, heck, I'll buy a jersey.
There's a lot of different ways to make sure that this program continues to be the raging, massive success that it's become. You can just hit like, because that helps our overall algorithm. That helps the show get shown to more people. You can also you can hit subscribe. We don't talk about that one, but the subscribe function is actually pretty useful for you because it gets you YouTube alerts that lets you know when our programming is coming on. And sometimes that can be a surprise, like the day Matt Canada was fired. And we're up bright and early in the morning when we went live with it. And it was very, very well received by people. The other thing, meaning in terms of raw numbers, the other thing that you can do is to become a member, as Big Gerbil just did.
Yay.
Okay? Because Big Gerbil knows what it's like to not be a member. He's been there, meaning as of like 4 minutes ago. The way to become a member here is to go to dkps.net/join. And I'm going to give it to you again, dkps.net/join. You have to type that into your URL. Super serious. I think it's 99 cents a month.
Yeah.
Although you really don't even have to do that for the first couple of months, because there's generally a pile of gifts from any number of contributors waiting for you. So you can get through a couple months of it here.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here.
I got a good one right here. It's pretty solid.
Do?
It's in the same lane. It's Mason Day again. Okay, let's go there. We'll transition to another one in a second. But AJ Balboa, I hadn't seen you in here before, but appreciate you checking us out and also being a member. He goes, "Hey Mon, great question. Does Coach T take the pulse of the team even directly to see who they want under center? I know it's not a democracy, but if the team wants Mason, that has to mean something. You got to remember that question was asked numerous times. I'm sure you asked it too, DK. Coach T said he wasn't ready. Mason has been the scout team quarterback for a little while, so adjusting to those team reps with those guys that are starters, he probably feels more comfortable throwing to Calvin Austin than he did to George Pickens. It's just that when he got in the game with George Pickens, he realized George can make a crap ton of plays for you. As far as Coach Tomlin understanding that, I personally don't know if he was ready to make that move. Somebody also asked that question earlier too, DK. I got this one for us. I had a few saved up. It was, do I think, right here from That's Biat, was Mitch over Mason because of practical performance or because of money spent? I think a little bit of the money spent. I can say he came in as the number 2. You got to think it goes 1, 2, and 3. So when it comes down to checking the tenor of the team and how coach views it, I look at it and say when it was his time, it was his time. Like Mason probably didn't buy himself enough credence to actually get into that conversation, but he's there now. And to be honest with you, as far as the tempo of the team, a lot of the guys in the room probably, I know they love Mason, like Mason a lot, but they probably truthfully didn't know what he was going to be capable of either. How many times can you think about it? How many times have you gone to the third quarterback and felt confident?
Jeez. Yeah. Regardless of who it is, right?
Regardless of who it is, right? You got to think, look what Cleveland did with their 2 and 3 when Deshaun went out. They went and got Flacco.
They're 4 and 5.
Yeah. So you got to think the psychological part of being a coach sometime probably makes you more hesitant to go to number 3 because, heck, if I got to go to number 3, that means I'm probably a crap out of luck right there.
Nick asks, and this is a fair question. It's going to be one of those ones that's better for the off season when you have an entire show that you can dedicate to a kind of a topic like this. But why Mitch Trubisky was Tomlin's choice to start those games? excuse me, I would not overthink this. There was a hierarchy that was put in place. It was their depth chart. It's the way they practiced all year, not season, all year, all calendar year long. They practiced with a 1, a 2, and a 3. And the 2 got infinitely more reps. Okay?
Yep.
On top of that, the 2 has the 5 years of NFL starting. The 2 had the most recent experience at starting. So that's all it is, Nick. And then from there, what ends up happening? He plays one game. Do you throw him out right after one game? The head coach wasn't inclined to do that. Now, for all we know, and I'm making this up, so don't do anything.
Go ahead.
This. But what if the head coach says to Mason behind the scenes, hey, you, let's get sharp there.
Yeah.
Okay? Get sharp. I might need you.
Here's my theory too. You mind if I go that route, whether it's conspiracy or not? You got to think we're also where Mitch came from too. He came from Buffalo, who was fire hot at the time, behind Josh Allen. You know who else is also in Buffalo? Sean McDermott. Him and Coach T are real nice friends, from my understanding. I think they crossed paths 1 or 2 times in their upcoming to be head coaches. Him probably getting a vouch from Sean McDermott probably played a little bit into it, whether right or wrong. And I can vouch. I've vouched for people before and been wrong too. So that's just my side of it, just thinking, well, he probably listened to his guy and thought he was the dude. He also got paid. I see Benjamin saying that too. Mitch's paycheck, I think, definitely had a play in it also. Why
Has to.
Has
Human
to.
nature. Human
Yes,
nature.
absolutely. We know these answers. Y'all just want us to say, well, he thought Mason was trash and Coach T was wrong. I don't think that's it. It's just you got to go through the pecking order.
And I would not, when you're talking about something like which quarterback was used at which time, again, I'm always talking about sliding back and trying to see the bigger picture as much as possible while Moan loses his mind over there.
I did. He said, William McDuffie cracked me by saying, well, his vouchers suck, then. Talking about Sean McDermott. Go ahead, DK.
But the bigger issue, I think, than anything that's related to Mitch or even Kenny for that matter, from an evaluation standpoint, is that the other guy was here all along. And if he was, in fact, learning and processing and improving, like just to give you a small example here, one of the things that we talked about, you might remember this, Moan, in the preseason, as it related to Mason was, hey, did you notice the happy feet are gone?
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah.
And we would say that.
Oh.
And it was like, that was one of Mason's big problems was this. He was doing this, and it was like, dude, just play the position. What are you doing? Okay.
Wow.
Then you saw him in the preseason, and he talked about it too. He said, you're not going to see that from me ever again.
It's just anxious.
He worked at it. He got better. Okay. And as a result, all of this happened. But how is it that everybody, and remember, it's not just the Steelers, because Mason was available to exactly 32 franchises.
Yes, he was for a while.
Okay. Everybody missed this. And you've got a lot of teams right now, I guarantee you, not just Pittsburgh, that are going, whoa, the heck is this?
Yeah.
Hey, who missed this?
Yeah.
Turning around at their advanced scouts and the people that study film. Who missed this?
Yeah. And to that point, though, too, Joel Schmidt makes another point. I don't know why I keep saying this stuff today, but said dude's a statue.
He means that in a good way, I think.
I think that's what this offense needs.
Yeah.
This isn't
for
Baltimore.
Now,
yeah, for now. This isn't Baltimore. This isn't, Chicago. This isn't Cincy. This isn't Baker Mayfield in Tampa. This isn't Desmond Ridder. You know what I'm saying? It's not that style of offense. So I think it works better for what we got going on. Yes.
He fits. I'm trying to think if it was Max Starks or somebody that I ran into in Seattle who just said he fits. Okay, this is what they need. They needed somebody. Merrill Hodge said something similar. Merrill Hodge still keeps an eye on the games and everything, and just said that this is what this football team in this offense needed more than anything else was someone who just doesn't get, how did he put it? It was such a great terminology. Maybe some of you heard it and you'll share it with me, but distressed pocket.
Oh.
He said he handles a distressed pocket better than most quarterbacks in the NFL. He just hangs on.
Mm-hmm.
So even on those rare occasions when you've seen him get sacked, which, by the way, has only happened twice in these 2 games total.
Wow.
Shout out to the offensive line as
Knock
well.
on wood right there. They're going to Baltimore, DK.
Right, exactly. And for him to hang in there in these distressed pockets has been just it's a dream for these linemen. It picks them up. But more than anything, it results in George doing ridiculous things 30 yards downfield.
That's very true. And here's the thing, too, in case he brings up another thing, and everybody said this, too. I can't believe Mason was number 3. And here's the thing, though, too. Everybody somewhat goes through this unless you're a high first rounder. Like, everybody's always looking to get replaced. The guys in-house need to overprove themselves that they're worthy. I was one of those dudes that had to overprove myself of being worthy. I was. Second year in the league, started 12 games, Super Bowl starter and everything. You know what happened the next year? They drafted a guy in my position. Okay? Keith Williams in my position, okay? You know what I had to do? Knock him off. I'm like, I'm right here. I am right here. Guess what? It's a wasted draft pick at this point, okay? And then the next year, you know what happened? Castro.
Yeah.
What? I was playing right guard. You know what position Dave played all his life?
I believe it was right guard.
It was right guard. So I'm telling y'all this to say this. Don't feel sorry. This stuff happens all the time. It's just a matter of how you handle it. Mason told you he's about to go sell real estate. I see John Leach. Ramon still salty. I ain't salty, my brother. I played 11 years in this thing. Do I understand how this business works? And I'm always warn a guy. This is just how the game goes. There's no other way around it. The in-house dudes have to always prove themselves, especially if they're low round or they hadn't been consistent starters or they're not a Pro Bowl type dude early. Think about how many guys have come through. Roosevelt Nix was a freaking Pro Bowl fullback. The next year he was cut. You always got to prove yourself in this league. There is no, hey, you going to get it because you was here before him and you were in-house. There's always a shiny new toy outside. So I give some grace there.
You guys will like this, I think. When I came back from Seattle, my wife and daughter came out to the airport to pick me up. And I'm explaining some of what happened. No, they're not into sports at all, right? But it's like, how was the trip kind of question, right?
Yeah.
Explaining what happened with, especially with Mason Rudolph, because our family knows him from different circumstances, right? Now, how did Mason do? How did he do whatever? So I told him, how was it that he was, lost like that? Didn't they see him play in the minor leagues? Was my daughter's question. Think about that for a second. Okay, but sometimes it takes that kind of totally empty, dry erase board perspective to understand what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
If the NFL had a minor league and Mason were to be assigned to it, and Mason was doing this stuff somewhere else, none of this happens.
No.
Okay, I don't want to get into a whole nother discussion on minor leagues or whatever, but I'm saying when people say, how did they not know? How did they whatever? That's part of it. Mm-hmm. When you're buried on an NFL depth chart, you are buried. You do start thinking about commercial real estate and other options, as Mason talked about, and that's how it happens. It's not like in baseball, you can keep up with all of your favorite players in AA and AAA every day. You can buy a package to watch them play in Indianapolis and Altoona and everywhere else, right? Same thing goes for hockey. All over the world, you can watch all your favorite prospects. If they're playing in some cave in Finland, you can watch them. In football, they're gone.
Yeah.
You don't see practices. We're not even allowed to report on what we see in practices. Okay? So all of this is just like, how did Mason disappear? That's how. Yeah,
it is. And to that point, you can either run with it or you can run away from it, like legitimately. And those moments, if you right-minded, motivate you when your real opportunity comes. Oh. Same way as with Darren Watts says it with James Harrison, right?
So much so. Patrick Mason says, you don't know how guys going to react to bullets flying until the bullets fly.
Yeah. Facts.
That's why the head coach is always pumping up that stadium stuff like we talked about, because it's the only part of the week you can't control.
Yup. It's doggone noise, DK. Because, again, when you walk into that trap and take over it and control them, you've won. You've beat them, DK. Golly. That's big
good
time.
stuff, huh?
That is big time. That's great conversation from you guys.
From everybody today. Really, really good stuff. Hey, we're going to call it a day. We have a couple more shows this week before I'll head out to Baltimore Friday night, assuming the weather participates.
You drive?
Always, yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little unwritten rule where if it's 5 hours or right in that range,
yeah, I'll
drive. Just because it's all in your control. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Running like I was the other morning in Seattle. Which concourse has the Starbucks? I got to run to the and this way, just get in the car. If you want to take one of your own pillows from home, you can do that. You don't like the hotel pillows, you throw it in the trunk.
The Green Goddess got you, though. You trying to figure out which terminal or concourse she's located in, meaning Mrs. Starbucks. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
The Green Goddess got you. That's crazy.
Hanover Fist asks, show Friday? Look at all those
Is
question
water
marks.
wet?
Yeah, we'll be here Friday.
Does a bear crap in the wood and wipe his butt with a rabbit? Yes. Okay. The answers to those. That's my Southern style. That's the Southern me coming out. You never heard that?
I did now.
Give us some of y'all sayings that DK's never heard in the comments real quick to us in the extras. A bear crapping in the wood and wiping his butt with a rabbit? Yeah.
No.
I'm getting a lot of WTHs.
You're also getting the Spice Creations coming in with some heavy duty emojis here. What the hell and everything else here.
And yes, man, y'all missed it, DK Greg. I had an epic hump day, and you missed it, man. Rochelle cracked her real quick, man. That's
Look
awesome.
at her. Good stuff. All right, guys. We'll be right back in a jiffy.
People are like, no, I've never heard that.
No, that's a new one too.
Good. Yeah,
that's a new one. Hey guys, I want to say something. This is going to sound like pandering, and I really don't care.
Yeah, do it.
Some of the input that we got today, some of the questions and everything, this is like one of the better episodes from the you standpoint.
It was.
I'm speaking. Ramon might feel differently.
No, go ahead. I thought it was too.
Yeah, I mean, we just got good stuff, and people were funny and everything else here. I know that there's different. I don't watch. I'm gonna be honest with you here, a whole lot of YouTube, like going around and checking out YouTubers and stuff. So I don't really know how we're supposed to do this show. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's the template on this. So for all I know, there might be people that just ignore their comments and just kind of let them happen on their own. We keep you guys involved because we like it.
Yeah, I do.
The guy over here to my side really likes it.
I love
I was physically sitting next to him in Nashville when this happened the first time. And he was like, this is awesome.
I knew this is what we needed to do because we speak about Steeler Nation. How we going to do a video and not involve them? Right?
Yeah.
And you guys kind of turned it over.
Why would, if we had people watching us from, Japan or Vietnam or wherever, okay, why would we not want to bring them in?
Bring them in. Yeah.
No,
this is some cool
make
stuff.
Sense.
But today I did think was one of those awesome days. Like legitimately, we was like, all right, this is our angle we're going to. We didn't even talk about our angle that we were going to start to show it. It was Jalen Warren. I mean, Jalen Warren that we were going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Go ahead and share that. Yeah, you had something. I remember that.
I saw a comment, and me being an undrafted bitter guy, that was a good one. That was for you right there, my guy. Coach said this. Falk said this. Oh, yeah. We had a draftable grade on Jalen Warren.
Eddie Faulkner.
Eddie Faulkner, yeah. It's like, you did? Oh, you did. Oh, now that he's successful, you had a draftable grade on him, huh?
Because you heard the same stuff.
Oh, you had a draftable grade on Jalen, huh? I bet you did.
What mythical round were you drafted in? I forgot. Was it third?
I think it was the 13th round, DK. It's like, you had a draft. Why didn't you draft him then, you fools? Oh, Bill, my dog.
Well, in fairness, I think with running backs, you can have a ranking of players and what you think of the players, and also recognize that everybody's available after the draft because they're running backs. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's very true.
But in hindsight, everybody whiffed, including the Steelers. Everybody.
I bet if you ask Jalen now, it's like, hey, man, coach said he had a draftable grade on. His first reply is going to be, well, where the hell was he at during the draft?
Yeah. Yeah, worst 2 days of my life. What are you doing?
Yeah, man.
No,
for real. For real. I had a kid at the time, man. But yeah, that was some cool stuff, man. We might start off tomorrow with Throwback Thursday. I don't know what we're going to do tomorrow, man. Coach T might drop some hot fire for us. Either way, you guys make this awesome.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see everybody. And thanks to Rochelle. I always have to throw that in at the end.
Definitely. Thanks, Rochelle. And Joel, everybody. You too. People want to feel like they're getting their money.
Yeah, Joel had a good show. I have to say here.
Yeah.
Joel,
since Kyle?
I like that.
Since the Kyle fella, man, where's Kyle at anyway, man? He was in here, now he's gone.
I don't know.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. We'll do it tomorrow.
Peace, good people. Appreciate y'all.